17 years ago, we started Unity in Naperville at Gregory Middle School. Anybody there? Anybody there? Look at you, look at you. So now we're here. We're enjoying our time here. And early on, when we first got together, we decided what our mission statement would be. And then about 5 years ago, we updated a little bit. So let's remind ourselves, I'm still just kind of, did you know I'm still, what do you call that? Ringing. I'm ringing. Fadim, if you can, anything we can do? Okay, up here is our mission statement currently. Let's say that together. We are a vibrant, inclusive community for personal growing and joyful knowing of our oneness with Spirit and each other. And each other. Yes, I like that. However, how often have you asked yourself how we're going to do that? How are we going to be a vibrant community? Or how am I going to be a vibrant person? How are we going to be inclusive in our congregation? Are we asking that regularly? Part of our mission statement says that our experience here together is about personal growth. How are we going to grow personally? How are we going to come to an understanding that we're one with Spirit? How are we going to understand that we are one with each other? It takes a little bit of work, a little bit of consciousness on our part. Are you up for that? Yes. Okay, might need to think about it. Long before our first service at Gregory Middle School, I was thinking about that because I'm a big how person. I like to talk about process, practicalities. And this idea of a path of divine potential came to me. This path of divine potential is something that is basically what we're working towards here at Unity as a congregation, but I'm also encouraging you to do that, to recognize that you're on a path of divine potential for your own individuality. So when you leave here today, working on that path doesn't stop. Everywhere we go, we're walking on that path of divine potential. And we're going to look at it from a bird's eye point of view over the next few weeks, trying to get the highest level of understanding of this picture and recognizing that as we're walking the path, it's never going to come to an end. It's not looking for a destination. It's partly we're walking it to understand our purpose for being here, not just here at Unity, but in our lives and on this earth. Our path of divine potential is starting to help us see who we really are as spiritual beings and to let it be as fulfilling and complete as possible. Because once we leave here, we're going to go, rats. If we had come with intention, but we didn't quite fulfill those intentions. So personally and as a community, we're walking this path of divine potential. And I kind of got this graphic in my mind of what that looked like. And at the time, we had a graphic artist in our church when we first started. And she put this together for us to help show the way a little bit. We're going to look at 3 different elements this month. The one at the center of the sun there, that golden globe, is one of the elements. Then the points of flame coming off of the sun is another section that we'll talk about. And then finally that path, that spiral path that's encircling the globe is also what we'll talk about. Does that spiral path sound familiar to you? We sing about that regularly here, and you'll get a chance this month to sing that song. But today I wanted to start with focusing on the center of the sun, that globe, that circle that can mean so many different things. If you look back over history, you will see that that circle actually holds all kinds of meanings to people. But it's often equated with the spiritual dimension, although I don't think spirit is actually being used in the descriptions, but I'm going to ask Cindy to pop up some of the descriptions around that sun to help you see that it's been recognized as a symbol for totality, wholeness, oneness, original perfection, or the self, the Christ nature, the infinite, eternity, movement, cyclic movement, the perpetual motion of the planets and everything that moves, the rhythm of the universe that tends to move in circles. Also, 0, the beginning of our numbering system, is represented by a circle. And something about that is that it holds potential. 0 holds infinite potential. It's where everything comes out of. And since there are infinite numbers available, 0 is the holding place for all those numbers to come from. Have you thought about that? It keeps giving birth over and over and over again to numbers, but also all kinds of potential. And one of my favorite descriptions of the circle came from a philosopher who came way back in the 5th century BC. And he's well known for this quote. His name is Empedocles. He said, "The nature of God is a circle of which the center is everywhere and the circumference is nowhere." That'll get you thinking. A circle whose center is everywhere. That means the center is in me. And that no matter where I go, I can't go outside of that circle because the center is everywhere. So whatever it is that is at the center of God, that fulfills what God is also within us. And that no matter how far outside the circle we try to get to, we will never find its edge because we are also and always in the center of God. God is in our center, and we are in the center of God. So part of that circle today is to look at it as that potential of the 0, that potential of the circle that holds all things within it because God rests there. That idea of potential that's not yet, it's not expressing yet, but there is the possibility of it. It has all the resources available for it to become something new. Isn't that kind of exciting to think about that? That you have infinite potential? That Unity in Naperville has infinite potential? Because the fullness of God rests there and it never runs out of its potential? Something that was written in the book of John, chapter 1, verse 3. All things came into being through the word of God, and without it, not one thing came into being. Not one thing came into being without the mind, the word, the idea, the essence, the potential of God. Nothing that we've seen in this universe came out by itself. It started from that infinite mind of God. And nothing in the future that will ever be created can be created if it doesn't come from the original source of God. And that's true for ourselves as well. Nothing that we have done so far in our lives or experienced so far in our life is outside of that divine mind, and nothing that we do in the future will be outside that divine mind. That's good to know. That should actually give you a sense of relief to know that no matter what comes in the future, it doesn't come without the presence of God in the midst of it. Whether we allow that presence of God to express to its fullest potential, that's another story. That's what we're going to start talking about next week. But what we're trying to get to today is to fully know, no matter where I go or what I do, the potential of God is within me. That's exciting to me. And when we also look at that globe up there of the sun, you notice it's at the center of all the activity that's going on up there. When we look at the sun up in the sky, which supposedly is going to go hiding next couple days, right? Tomorrow, okay. Don't look at the sun without glasses. Okay, so when we look at the sun up in the sky, except for tomorrow, we notice that it's at the center of what? Of our solar system. People, did you not take 4th grade science? I don't even know if it's 4th grade. All right, but anyway, it's at the center of the solar system. All of our planets in the solar system revolve around it. It stays put. And that's true of God. God is at the center of all things. And that center is also the source of all things. So that's another word that we use to describe God. It's the source of all good, of all life. It's the ground of our being. It's the origination of our essence. We wouldn't be here without its presence also here. Are you starting to get that? We can't go anywhere without God. The fullness of God is here. And everything in God is available to us. So if you remember the prodigal son story from the scriptures, the younger son wanted his inheritance. He left it. He squandered it. He felt really bad about it. He came home with his head drooping and saying, I'm sorry, I'll go and be a servant for you if you'll just let me eat normally. And his father said to him, all that is mine is yours. Same for us. Our source is always present, no matter how badly things are going. All that is God's is ours. If we would just return back to what's at our center, knowing it is our source. Wherever we go, God is. We can never be separate from it. So shortage is not actually a thing. Did you know that? Because even when we look like there is not enough, the enoughness comes from the mind, the substance, the spiritual energy, the divine ideas of God, which are where? Everywhere. How long will it be around? Forever. Is it limited in its amount? No. Yeah. So part of this process is awakening to what's at my center and what does it bring with it, and how can I ever be without? Again, I can't, unless I think I can. That's what we'll talk about starting next week. So in God, we're living and we're moving and we're having our being in the center, and we're being sourced out of that center. One of the things we look at when we see that sun is to be reminded that God is light. The physical sun gives light to the earth, and it's needed in order for us to grow things and to stay alive on this planet. And even more so, the light of God came first, before our physical sun. If you open up the book of Genesis, chapter 1, what was the first thing that God created? Let there be light. And it wasn't talking about the sun, was he? It was an everywhere present light. It was basically, here, let me move into this physical dimension. Now, we don't look at that story in Genesis as a literal 7-day creative process, but we see a lot of metaphor there. And I'm going to encourage you to consider that when you see the light of the sun, just imagine that light, even on, I really haven't been having had to use this a lot the last few weeks, is that every time I open my curtains in the morning, I have blackout shades, I open it up, it's like, ugh. So I have to keep going back inside and saying, right now, just above that layer of gray, there is a brilliant blue sky and a brilliant yellow sun, and it never goes away. It's always there. The earth might turn away from it. The clouds might get in the way of it, but it's always there. And just thinking about it lightens me up. It helps me remember that this is not forever, that this thing in my way right now can go away. What can I do to help it do that? Well, don't pay attention to it. Pay attention to what is true about the light of God. But the light also represents other things for us. How many times have you been trying to figure something out and suddenly, boom, I've got it? If you were a cartoon, there would be what over your head? A light bulb. So ideas are represented by light, wisdom, creativity. That presence of all-knowingness is within us. Our mind is in God mind is in our mind. That's what light is and can be for us. God is the light, and in him there is no darkness at all, it says in 1 John. And light is kind of intermingled with life. The psalmist said, for with you, all that is the fountain of life. In your light, we see light. So let's talk about life for a minute. Again, the sun makes life possible on our planet. God life makes all things possible in this universe. Anything, any kind of force or activity that happens in this universe is sourced from the life force, the one power that we talk about of spirit. And we, again, can never be separate from that. So when you're having one of those moments of, oh, where am I going to get the energy for that? I'll tell you, from the life that is within you. You can't say, I don't know anymore, because why? Because the light of God is within us. use these divine qualities by focusing on them. That's part of our path of divine potential, is knowing the nature of God and calling on it and allowing it to express through us in our everyday lives. It's way too easy for us to get caught up in what's going on around us. You've been watching the news lately. I think I've gotten, 20 emails a day from political parties asking for money. So does that feel like light or life? Not necessarily, but at the same time, God light and God life are present. If I could look at that instead, I would feel better. I would know how to address those kind of issues that get in my way of my joy and my peace. Light and life is wisdom and understanding and insight and creativity. And that animating life force is what allows our body to renew. So when we're having one of those days where we can't get out of bed, life is our word. I am the life of God. So just imagine laying in your bed. I almost said with me, but imagine with me laying in your bed. Let's say it that way. You don't want to, never mind. Okay. So we're laying in our bed and we're waking up in our own beds, and we start thinking about what's on our agenda today. Oh, I have to do that. I have to see that person. I have to go to that place. And I can barely lift my head off the pillow. I'm so tired. I didn't get a good night's sleep. Oh, and I walked the whole length of Woodman store yesterday. I don't have any legs left. I could do that. Or life. Life. Life, vitality, light, strength, power. I am that. God is sourcing me, and God is sourcing the light in me, the life, the strength. Pick any one of those words and just repeat it until you start to feel it in your very being. Light and life. Connie Fillmore is the granddaughter of our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle. And up here on the screen, she said that life is the perpetual flowing forth into visibility of the unlimited energy of spirit, and we can have as much as we will claim. Claim it in the morning as you're still laying in bed, what it is that you want to experience throughout the day. How much life can you claim? It's freely available and it's infinite, so let yourself have it. Let's affirm what God is in us. Up here on the screen, let's say this together. God is the sun of my existence, an infinite, eternal circle of wholeness, oneness, perfection, our center, our source of life and light, and the potential for all things to exist. In you. That's in you right now. So now that we've heard those divine qualities, how are we going to use them to walk our path of divine potential? We have tools, as usual, that I want us to talk about. But let's pick a couple divine qualities to really center in on today. And one of them is the idea of center. God is at our center, and we are at the center of God. And God is our source, that everything we need is being provided, and we are being sourced out of the one source. So we're never separate from God. Now, in order to grow along this path of divine potential and express those divine qualities, we need to learn how to regularly make conscious connection with those qualities of God, with that presence of God. So one of the things we do here in Unity on a regular basis is meditation, prayer. Sig Paulson was a Unity minister, and he wrote on the screen here, he said, in our prayer time, we should have only one purpose: to attain conscious oneness with God. Because this consciousness, this awareness of our oneness with God is our supply, our peace, and our health. Which kind of sounds familiar and written way before Sig Paulson was Jesus, who said, seek first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you as well. So isn't it interesting that Sig said the main purpose of prayer is to attain a conscious oneness with God, when most of the time when we go to prayer, it's to do something, it's to create something, it's to get something, it's to stop something from happening, right? Why do you suppose having a conscious oneness of God will handle all those issues? Rick? That's where the solutions are. Start first, seek first the kingdom of God, so that we will know how all these things can be added to us. So, put our thoughts on God first, make that connection, recognize its presence, think about its qualities, recognize it's in me, start to feel what those qualities are in me, and then we can apply it to whatever's going on in our life. Meditation is similar. Usually prayer is about affirming what's true in a situation, while meditation is basically contemplating what's true about God. So we've talked about God today as being infinite, and that means there's no lack. All provision is provided. There's no shortage in our life. If we could just meditate on God as infinite supply, it kind of washes away all those fears and worries about your monthly bills. I'm watching The Chosen. I keep wanting to talk about that, and I will talk a little more today about that. But The Chosen is a series of Jesus choosing his disciples. Who has seen it? Anybody seen it? Okay. So I just watched the episode where he's sending them out 2 by 2 with nothing. They're not allowed to take a second cloak. They're not allowed to take a change of clothes. They're not allowed to take any food or money. Nothing. And if you could see the looks on their faces. I mean, first of all, not only are they going out without anything, but they're also expected to teach and to heal and to cast out demons. And I haven't been watching it that long, and even I thought, they haven't had enough training yet. And that's what they were saying. It's like, we're watching you, but we're not understanding this. Well, what were they forgetting? What's within them? Their faith in what is all around them. That it's not, that they took good notes on the Sermon on the Mount. Matthew did, but it's about knowing that what you need in the moment, though you may not be prepared, though you may not have thought about it in advance, may not be in your hand, the infinite substance of God is available to you. People ask me, do you really believe that the miracles happen that are in the Bible? And I said, I don't know if I believe that they all actually happened, but I do believe that they could have happened. Hands down, absolutely believe they could have happened. And thinking about the loaves and the fishes. They came, he taught thousands of people, let's give them something to eat. Well, we don't have anything. What did they have? Like 5 fishes and 2 loaves of bread, or vice versa. And multiplied the loaves and fishes, and everybody had enough. Could he have really done that? Well, what is everything made out of? What's the very base core of everything that we can touch? Substance, spiritual substance, aka energy. That starts as spiritual energy. How much of it is there? Infinite, yeah. So when you're looking at your bank account, just recognize, this is just telling me a little tiny story of what's available to me all the time. Meditate on that. Meditate on that. Meditate on wholeness. God is whole, no parts missing. That's interesting. Omnipresence, one present, everywhere present in me, means no parts missing in me. When we think of God as the love of God, then we get to see that I'm living in a universe that loves me. And love works for good. It sees only good. It wants only good. That's available to us all the time when you're lonely, when you're feeling hated, when you're feeling like nobody sees your value. Get back to valuing yourself, seeing your own good, recognizing the good is God within you. I could go off on a tangent there. I need to stay focused. So here we are, praying daily without ceasing. And the other thing I wanted to share from The Chosen is that they're constantly praying as just a way of being. A couple Jewish prayers I wrote down. One was upon waking in the morning, up here on the screen. Why don't we say it together? I gratefully thank you, O living and eternal King. You have returned my soul within me with compassion. Abundant is your faithfulness. Sounds Very affirmative, doesn't it? And when you lay your head down at night, in their case, they were laying it on the ground, but let's say it together. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings sleep to my eyes and slumber to my eyelids. May it be your will, Lord my God, and God of my ancestors, that I lie down in peace and that I arise in peace. Wonderful reminders of what is present and who we are and how we are one with that presence. We're coming back to that center and that source within and all around us. Make it, if you start at 5 minutes a day with prayer and meditation, wonderful. If you can get to the point where every time you think of it, a 30-second prayer, wonderful. Make time for that conscious connection so that you can be guided when you need to be guided, and recognize that your words and your consciousness is what draws it to us. Our life is revolving around and within this presence of all good. So Unity, as you know, was formed on prayer. Maybe you don't know that we started this ministry, not this ministry, but the Unity organization began with prayer, healing prayer, and then a healing ministry called Silent Unity. And our Unity prayer ministry today is still going 135 years later, praying for people 24 hours a day. So feel free to reach out to them at 1-800-NOW-PRAY on the phone, or go to unity.org and click on their prayer ministry. We offer prayer opportunities here in this building. There's a prayer box out in the front room. If you leave the prayer request there, one of our chaplains will pray over it with you, for you. You get the gist. Prayer requests, affirmative prayer, which is us speaking the truth about God. We do that here regularly. We don't close a service without affirming the truth about God. We also are giving out affirmations in the front room all the time. If you picked up your Easter egg last week, did you get an affirmation on the inside? Might be a few of them still out there. We do healing prayer circles for those who are struggling with issues in their bodies. We have prayer before our board meetings and prayer before our classes, and we teach classes on prayer, because nothing works if you're not first connecting with your conscious awareness of God. And that's why we have chaplains here to pray with you one-on-one. In the meditation room after the service, they'll meet with you. They hold this sacred space in confidentiality. They create this space where it helps you open your heart to what is true. They help you to make a claim to what God is for you in your life. And they will continue to hold that in consciousness for you. And those chaplains are also, we're putting them to greater and greater use, so we're inviting more people to join our chaplain team. We'll have more training for chaplains coming up soon. But the idea here is that our chaplains are praying not just for you one-on-one, but as a congregation. What's going on in Unity in Naperville that we can be praying for? We're not just seeing prayer for a single person, but basically helping us as a congregation fulfill our mission, express our divine potential as a community. Lots of good use that we're asking our chaplains to step into. So if that's speaking to you, one thing is you should be a member before you try to be a chaplain, and that membership class is today after the service. And secondly, we'll have a training. So come see me after if you're interested in that. So one other way that I want to talk about being awake and using this as a tool to the everywhere present God is a word I don't say a lot: worship. Let me just talk about what worship is for me now. It's kind of evolved over time. But for me, worship is, first of all, a celebration. I am celebrating what I understand or try to know about what God is. And try to get myself to a place of complete awe. I mean, how often do we sit in awe of what God is? Now, a hardcore New Thought person would say, but I am that. I am God. And yes, you are. But a lot of times it's hard for a human being to get there. So let's start with just being aware of what the qualities of God are and sit in awe of those qualities. Contemplate their meaning until you can experience something wondrous in you contemplating mystery. You know, I used to hate that word, and I would say it out loud. But professor in seminary, why is this happening? Or why is that happening? Or why do you think it should go that way? I think it should go this way. And he said, it's a mystery. And I said, I hate that word. And he said, get used to it. It's the nature of the universe. It's a mystery. Until we have all the answers, which we probably won't get to, let's be in awe of that. Anybody here laid out on the grass at night and looked out at the universe and had one of those moments where you realized this never stops? It just keeps going. There's no wall on one side here. That's an opportunity to be in awe of a mystery. To be sensitive and aware of all this awesomeness that's happening around us all the time. The cells in your body naturally healing all the time. You're so completely unaware most of the time of what your body is doing for us to maintain a sense of well-being. So just give thanks on your healthy days instead of only praying on the days that things aren't working in your body. And allow that celebration to lift your spirits. As you keep focusing on things you don't understand, start asking questions about it to yourself. What if? I'm going to ask Liz to come around and ask you the question. How would you, first of all, describe how you are filled with awe? What fills you with awe? Raise your hand if you've got something you want to share.
Nature.
Nature. Anything in particular in nature?
Plants and how the seed just, it's magic.
Beautiful. What else? What makes you fill up with awe?
A couple of years ago, I had a small surgery that the doctors decided not to close up, and so it had to heal without stitches. And over the course of 3 months, I watched my body know exactly what to do to fill in that hole.
Isn't that amazing?
I was in awe.
Yes. You didn't have to do a thing. What else? What makes you feel awe-filled?
Childbirth.
Childbirth. No kidding. And not just the birthing process, right? From the first little cell. Mary Beth?
Love.
Love. Wow. Love. Yeah. That's a mystery.
Forming a sentence, expressing an idea.
Forming a sentence or expressing an idea. You know when those ideas first come? It's like the kids we were talking about last week and the funny things they say. Where do thoughts come from? Where do ideas come from? That's awesome. Melinda, or who's... Okay, Danny.
Children.
Children.
The total presence of a child. I went to a birthday party yesterday. This kid got a gift, and her response to it was...
Say that last part again. You went to a party.
I went to a birthday party, and she got a present from her dad.
Okay.
She didn't open it. She knew what it was. She really wanted it, and she just flew away. And she ran over and hugged him, and before she opened it.
Oh.
Children are right here, right now.
Yes.
And that's what
Present.
I like about children.
Beautiful. Anybody else, Melinda?
I'm going to follow that up with my granddaughter who texted me on Tuesday and said, Mimi, can we come over and see you?
Oh. That must have felt like love. That's a double whammy, awe and love. People over here on this side, what fills you with awe? Just keep in mind when you're feeling these feelings, where it's coming from.
Seeing compassion being expressed.
Beautiful. Anybody else? What fills you with awe? Rick and Claire?
My support team. So I'm lucky to have 2 mothers and also my 3 special women in my life who's helped me come this far in life.
Beautiful. One more over here. Rick, did you have your hand up? Oh. John and Rick and Don, and then we're done. John and Rick and Don.
Music sometimes.
Music sometimes. There's a song called Sometimes that fills me with awe.
Having a grandson who's 10 years old and runs up to me, gives me a big hug and says, Papa, I love you. You are the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Kids are so free with their love. Don up here. Last one over here. In the front.
Well, I've always been awed by the idea, even as a child, of that God has no beginning. It's like, where did God come from?
That's one of my favorites, Don. Yeah. Where did God come from? We call God the first cause, but nothing caused God. That should make your head just explode. Yeah, love that. So not only do we want to just have moments in the mystery and being filled with awe to remind ourselves personally of the fullness and the gloriousness of what is potential for us, but also we want to do that as a congregation. We want to work together to enjoy the mystery together, to create moments and events and experiences where we can experience the awe of God. Just the songs that we sing here on Sundays, the lyrics that we say should fill us with wonder, not only of what God is, but God as us. That's awesome. That's pretty awesome. So we're here walking this path of divine potential, trying to remember that all that God is within me, that whatever I am facing today, I have the potential within me to address from a place of wholeness and well-being. Never walk your path without knowing that you're walking it around and from within the allness of God. Let's take this into meditation, shall we? Our breath is awesome. Take a deep breath and release. And another deep breath from your heart and release. Sense the energy of your body. That right now there are fluids moving through you, bloodstream pumping through your heart, oxygen flowing through your lungs and into your body. Muscles responding to your desires. So many wonders right here within our bodies that could not be without the life of God at its foundation. We take a moment to sense that life energy. Take a moment to feel the support of that life energy. And recognize that this life and this energy, this light, goes beyond the edges of your body and reaching out into the room, throughout the building, beyond the four walls. Imagine that this energy that's permeating outside the walls of our body is the one presence. Sense that presence moving, connecting, expressing as oneness. There's only one of us here. As we become still in our heart, we become more open to all that that presence wants to be. What is it today that wants to shine? The strength and life of our bodies, the generosity and compassion of God's heart. The wisdom in dealing with something troubling us is always ready to express. God's infinite substance is always ready to be formed into our daily bread. Right here and right now. The unlimited goodness of this universe flows through me.